What drives someone to destroy something beautiful, something built by the hands and hearts of a community? In the quiet town of Willow Creek, where neighbors greeted each other with warm smiles and shared the fruits of their labor, the community garden stood as a testament to unity. Rows of vibrant tomatoes, delicate lavender, and towering sunflowers swayed under the summer sun, tended by young and old alike. But one morning, the town awoke to a sight that chilled their hearts. Every plant, every flower, every hope-filled sprout lay withered, poisoned, dead. And at the center of it all was Karen Whitaker, a woman whose bitterness had seeped into the soil itself. Karen was not always the villain of Willow Creek. Once, she had been a beloved figure, her laughter ringing through the streets as she organized bake sales and knitted scarves for the homeless. But life had not been kind to her. After her husband left her for a younger woman, and her only daughter moved across the country, Karen's warmth turned to ice. She withdrew, her once bright eyes now sharp with resentment. The community garden, a project she had once championed, became a painful reminder of her loneliness. While others found joy in its blooms, Karen saw only the life she no longer had. The garden was the heart of Willow Creek, a place where children learned to plant seeds, where elders shared stories, and where strangers became friends. Every spring, the town gathered to plan new plots, their hands digging into the earth, their dreams taking root. But Karen stopped attending. She'd watch from her window, her lips pressed into a thin line, as families laughed and worked together. "They don't need me," she'd mutter, her voice thick with venom. "They've got their perfect little lives." No one suspected the depth of her anger until that fateful night. Under the cover of darkness, Karen slipped into the garden, her gloved hands clutching bottles of herbicide. She worked methodically, pouring the poison into the soil, watching it soak into the roots of the roses, the zucchini, the marigolds. Her heart pounded, not with guilt, but with a strange, twisted satisfaction. If she couldn't have joy, why should they? By dawn, the garden was a graveyard, its colors drained, its life snuffed out. The discovery came at sunrise. Claire Nguyen, a high school teacher who tended the garden with her students, arrived first. She froze, her basket of tools slipping from her hands. The air smelled faintly of chemicals, and the ground was littered with wilted petals. She screamed, her voice echoing through the quiet morning, drawing neighbors from their homes. By noon, the town was in an uproar. Children cried, clutching dead daisies. Elders shook their heads, their hands trembling. Someone called the police. The investigation was swift. Security cameras from a nearby shop caught Karen's silhouette, her hooded figure moving through the garden. When confronted, she didn't deny it. "They deserved it," she spat, her eyes blazing. "All of them, acting like they're better than me." The town was stunned. Their Karen had done this? The betrayal cut deeper than the loss of the garden. The court case was a spectacle. Karen stood defiant, her gray hair pulled back tightly, her face a mask of defiance. The prosecutor, a young woman named Maya Torres, laid out the evidence with precision. The herbicide bottles found in Karen's garage, the footprints matching her shoes, the testimony of neighbors who'd seen her lurking near the garden. The judge, a stern man with tired eyes, listened as the town poured out their grief. Clara spoke of her students' tears, of the lessons in resilience they'd now have to learn. An elderly man named Harold recounted how the garden had given him purpose after his wife's death. Even children took the stand, their small voices trembling as they described their ruined sunflowers. Karen's defense was weak. Her lawyer argued she was unwell, consumed by grief and isolation, but the evidence was overwhelming. The judge's ruling was harsh, a $200,000 fine to cover damages and a mandate to replant the entire garden herself. Gasps filled the courtroom. Karen's face paled, but she said nothing. The town, however, was divided. Some saw justice. Others saw a broken woman pushed too far. As spring returned, Karen began her task. Under the watchful eyes of the community, she worked alone, her hands blistered from digging, her back bent under the weight of her punishment. The town provided the seeds, but no one offered to help. They watched, some with pity, others with scorn. Clara, however, couldn't stay away. She'd come by after school, pretending to check on the progress, but really, she was searching for answers. Why had Karen done it? What had turned her heart so cold? One evening, as the sun dipped low, Clara approached Karen. "Why?" she asked, her voice soft but firm. Karen paused, her hands caked with dirt. For a moment, she seemed about to snap, but then her shoulders sagged. "I wanted them to feel what I feel," she whispered. "Empty." Clara didn't respond, but she began to visit more often, sometimes bringing a thermos of coffee, sometimes just sitting in silence. It was a small gesture, but it cracked something in Karen's armor. Then came the twist no one expected. One morning, as Karen worked, a stranger appeared in the garden. He was young, with kind eyes and a hesitant smile, carrying a small potted plant. His name was Eli, and he claimed to be Karen's nephew, estranged for years after a family feud. He'd heard about the trial and come to Willow Creek, not to judge, but to help. The town was wary, but Eli was persistent. He worked alongside Karen, his hands steady as he planted seedlings, his voice gentle as he spoke of forgiveness. "She's my aunt," he told Clara one day. "She's family, no matter what she's done." Eli's presence changed the air. Some neighbors softened, bringing water or tools, their anger giving way to curiosity. Others remained cold, unable to forget the poison. Karen herself was conflicted, her pride warring with the warmth of Eli's kindness. Slowly, the garden began to bloom again, its colors tentative but hopeful. Karen's hands, once instruments of destruction, now coaxed life from the earth. But the weight of her actions lingered, a shadow over every new sprout. As the final plants took root, the town gathered for a reopening ceremony. The garden was beautiful again, though not quite the same. The scars of that night remained in the uneven soil, the slightly stunted roses. Karen stood at the edge, her face unreadable. Eli was by her side, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. Clara spoke to the crowd, her voice steady but thick with emotion. "This garden isn't just about plants," she said. "It's about us, about healing, even when it hurts." The crowd applauded, but Karen didn't join them. She turned and walked away, her steps heavy. Eli followed, but she waved him off. Later that evening, Clara found a note slipped under her door. It was from Karen, written in a shaky hand. "I'm sorry," it read. "I thought I was alone, but I was wrong. Thank you for seeing me." Enclosed was a single marigold seed, a fragile promise. Karen left Willow Creek the next day. No one knew where she went, though Eli stayed behind, tending the garden in her place. The town moved on, their laughter returning, their bonds stronger for the pain they'd endured. But the garden carried a quiet sorrow, a reminder of what had been lost, not just the plants, but the woman who had once been their heart. The fine was paid, the garden replanted, but Karen's emptiness lingered, a bitter ache no seed could heal. Nd.